Good evening, everybody. We are now going live on this 22nd Sunday, 22nd Sunday on a series of talks on urban foodscapes. And as I always say, this was the dream of our beloved past president and our guide and mentor in this terrace gardening, Dr. B.N. Vishwanath, who wanted to celebrate the silver jubilee of OTG in a special way. And he decided, or we decided rather, that we will have 25 Sundays where we talk something to do with urban foodscapes, not just gardens, but urban foodscapes. The 21 Sundays are over, and we are here with the 22nd Sunday. And on today's talk, we have with us a very, very senior and a very, very experienced gardener who shared a very close relationship with Dr. Vishwanath, as you can see in the picture on the screen. Dr. Vishwanath was very fond of Shri Harish Mysore. He is a spirited practitioner of urban foodscapes with decades of experience in growing flowers, vegetables, fruits, ornamentals in containers and on the ground. He is a passionate photographer and he has nicely documented all his learning from his rooftop garden, temple on terrace, as well from the community space ground temple. He is a team led and influencer for many who are new to gardening and farming, supporting them with regular suggestions, connections with an intent to graduate them from urban gardening to sustainable farming. He has been guiding many, many people who are interested in this field. Currently, he is located in Mysore, and when he was in Bangalore, he used to actively participate all over Uttar Tota. He has given a lot of guest lectures. He has inspired many, many to set up not just terrace gardens and urban foodscapes, but as he said, to practice sustainable farming. Sir, we are all waiting, eagerly waiting to listen to your talk today. Please take over, sir, and share your rich experience with us. Over to you, Harish Mysore, sir.
Good evening, friends. This is Harish Mysore from Mysore. At the outset, I would like to dedicate today's session to Dr. B.N. Vishwanath, a great human being, pioneer of terrace gardening, multifaceted, multi-talented, highly respected, lovable personality. Today's topic is on food security. What steps we take today is tomorrow's food security. Now, looking historically, food was something which people were getting from the forests. They were living in certain towns wherever water bodies were available and were depending upon food to get it from the forests nearby. And there was no farming or any other practices to grow food very long back and earlier days. This went on for quite some time till the population started increasing in every country, every part of the globe. And with the increased population, the situation forced people to think of certain alternatives where they could increase the food output. Obviously, the closest available water body and surroundings, they were the places to look for, and the kind of food which was already available in the forest, they were trying to grow similar things near the water bodies. So with this started the small farming practices and went on for certain period, and everything was fine. These were again natural farming practices without any great technology or any other sophisticated procedures, and people were quite happy to eat what was available either in the forest or whatever little they could grow in their surroundings. With further increase in population, they were required to move little closer into the towns where food had to be grown to meet the population increase and the demands thereof. So this is how little bit of agricultural practices started, where the rain-fed crops started, and also certain water bodies, whatever they were available, they were trying to conduct the water through canals, and even the ponds, whatever they were able to hold water, they were utilizing this water body and the resource, and depending upon the weather conditions, they started growing different types of crops. After this era, started a situation where the food was insufficient and they had to really go for certain improved methods of farming. So this is where, as you can see, the need for food and the shortage or the supply and the demand equation was always under stress, and this was forcing people to think of inventing and adjusting their own food production requirements and needs according to the society growth and population growth. The situation continued like this for several decades and centuries, obviously, and where these normal agricultural practices, rain-fed crops, natural agricultural procedures were not able to meet the basic needs of food, and the demand was not being met from the production levels. So this is where, in the recent past, a few decades back, people had to get into a forced situation of thinking certain alternative methods of producing food. And the scientists, the agriculturists, the administration, and the entire intelligentsia of the society, they put their heads together and started thinking as to what is the best alternative way of producing food. So this is the time where the green revolution, the so-called green revolution, came into force, where they invented chemical farming, where by using chemical fertilizers, they could enhance the production of food crops of various types. Yes, definitely it was a reasonable success at this point of time. The quantity of food they were able to grow using chemical fertilizers increased. But along with this positive development, they also encountered new problems like new type of pests and diseases started getting into the agriculture or farming activity. To combat this problem, they had to invent new methods of pest management and new methods of eradicating all these pests to maintain the same levels of production of food crops, which otherwise they had happily increased. That this means again they were to required to go for certain chemical treatments, chemical pesticides, along with chemical fertilizers to maintain the balance of production and certain levels of food output. Eventually, the chemicals used in either the fertilizers which were getting into the food crop growth or the pesticides which was required to maintain a balance on the health of the food crops without being eaten away by pests. The chemicals got into the crop, got into the food grains, and it ultimately the same thing was consumed by human beings, and the chemicals made their way through to the human beings. So this was a real bad side negative effect, which the humans started getting exposed to. This situation over a period of time and eventually over a few decades resulted in large health issues and irreversible health problems. This was one of the major negative side effect. And the second thing was with continuous usage of these chemical fertilizers, the fertile lands which were there, which were giving good output and good crops over several centuries, their fertility value started going down. The live soil, what it was earlier, with the full life and microorganisms, earthworms, etc., it started becoming poorer and poorer and eventually barren. So that is the stage in which we are almost today, where there are so many irreversible health issues and problems and new types of diseases. And this is, of course, probably beneficial to the medical field and the hospital industry, but definitely not to the normal society and the human mankind. This is on one side. And secondly, we have a situation where the land is getting totally spoiled and it is not capable of growing any further food to the required extent and the level, which is resulted in a situation where the quantity and quality of food produced now is under serious threat. obviously with this situation, the farming community, the people, the farmers who were involved in the farming activities, they are getting totally disillusioned as to how they can lead their life, and they are practically and progressively getting out of their profession in trying to pursue their different types of life skill activities and manage their life and livelihood, and they are getting out of this profession, farming profession. All these put together finally is leaving a very big serious threat into the society as far as the food availability is concerned on one side, and even whatever little food is available today and what is grown, it is not safe food. So this is definitely very serious situation, and we have today the food security is under the total threat. So now with this situation, what we are in today, we will have to find a solution, because every time in the past, wherever and whenever there was a problem, so by certain means and certain options and certain alternatives, the mankind and the society, they have found solutions. But now we are in a totally different phase altogether, where we will have to probably take a total U-turn from the chemical farming and using chemical fertilizers and chemical pesticides to go back to the way back the way farming was done all these years, maybe some 50 years back or even centuries back. It is a very, very difficult situation today to think of such a possibility because of the size and volumes which are involved in the whole game. And we will have to attract people to the farming activity, and we will have to increase the forest cover, the plant cover, the green cover, a very possible way. So there are those various focus areas where we will have to look into to combat the food security threat, which is looming large on our heads today. Since the size of the problem is so huge and so big, it is not something which either the administration in its own capacity, or the corporates, or the business houses, or the industry, or the NGOs, or the individuals, they cannot attempt any of these in their individual capacity. It has to be a teamwork. It has to be a revolution where all the people involved, that is right from the individual up to the administration, involving the industry, involving the corporates, involving the NGOs, involving all like-minded people to contribute their might to see that some solution is found at this point of time. It's a definite situation that solution cannot be found overnight, but a serious beginning has to be made, and over a period of time, definitely a solution has to emerge. Otherwise, it is almost the end of mankind. So this is a situation in which we are today under the big threat of food security, and the focus areas possibly where the people whom I mentioned earlier, from the individual to the administration, including the corporates and the industry, they all have to contribute in a big way. And with respect to a systematic, structured knowledge sharing, knowledge transfer and sharing of frameworks from all concerned to the common man and the common farmer, so that the whole effective mechanism of that U-turn, what I mentioned, starts, and we really go ahead and see our destination at least a few years down the line. So the only possibility for doing this is we will have to start at grassroots level, even including children today, right at the school age, because they are the citizens, they are the people, and they are the future of tomorrow. We will have to really involve the children and introduce this concept in their minds that food is very important. Not just the food, safe food is very, very important. And the situation in which we are today, what are the threats which we are having on the safety and good food, whatever we are not able to get today, we have to make them understand. And this message and this awareness, we will have to communicate not only for children of today and who are the citizens of tomorrow, we'll have to carry it forward to other sections of the society at all levels. So this is a marathon exercise, and this is a very huge exercise which has to be done on a collective basis from all concerned and involved. And here comes the role of particularly the corporates and industry with the help of administration to, and even the NGOs, so like possibly Rotary Club or Lions Club or any association who have the basic infrastructure capability, who have the financial capability, who have the knowledge to share and transmit this information and transfer this knowledge and information to a complete cross-section of the society. So this knowledge transfer, knowledge banks, and the demonstration forms which people have to really get access to has to happen in a very large scale and in a very wide spectrum. People have to be exposed to the resource pools, and they will have to have the benefit of seed banks through which they can get all the information as well as the support of seeds. And then the parallelly, the evil whatever is already entered our society in a big way, the chemical fertilizers, the chemical pesticides, they will have to be phased out. There is a huge infrastructure, there is a whole big system in place which is handling this chemical farming inputs and the mechanism, and that has to be phased out. And the tools which are required for organic farming or natural farming, they should be given priority, topmost priority, and the existing network which is utilizing the chemical farming, it should give way and make a provision for allowing the organic farming principles and the tools to take over. And in addition to this, every available square inch of the place all over the country, with the help of the administration and with the help of cooperation of people, and whether it's a school, whether it's an educational institution, whether it's an office, whether it's a corporate office, whether it's an industry, any place, it could be terrace, it could be on ground. Any available space should be put to productive use, to utilize it for production of food. Food should be grown wherever possible. In fact, it is highly important, looking at the need and the demand and supply gap today, that the ornamentals, the lawns, which are decorative, but which will not serve a major purpose. It's again a relative situation. When everything is fine, it is probably good to have a lawn. When everything is fine, it is good to have various ornamental flowers and plants. But when there is a basic problem of a big gap between the demand and supply for edible food, I think the food obviously takes over the priority, and that has to be given the maximum attention what it deserves. So this situation of legislative support coming from the administration for optimized utilization of land available, or optimum utilization of even terrace spaces available, every inch in every segment and sector of the society is a must. Every new sapling of plant, whether it is a plant or a tree sapling planted anywhere in the country, it should be capable of producing and contributing some food. That is the utmost priority and biggest priority today. And I think if we start doing that exercise today, we will be better off progressively in the time scale and the journey. And sooner or later, we will definitely be able to answer the food security threat in which we are definitely under today. This is the one we are talking about the surface areas where we have land available, where we have the terrace spaces available. In addition to this, wherever possible, vertical gardens should also come into picture, because that is another area which is remaining to be totally explored. And this definitely increases the overall surface area available for utilization to produce food. Even a very simple example could be around the parapet wall of every terrace, if we create a vertical space where by way of some weld mesh structure and certain other nets, we are able to grow vegetables or fruits on those supporting structures. And if every household can do that, if every available vertical space which is exposed to sunlight can do that, the integrated effect of production of food will be quite high, substantial output will come. And similarly, even on the compounds, one can always grow certain food, certain creepers with certain structural supports. These are all the concepts of simple concepts of vertical gardens. There is no hard and fast rule that it has to be done this way, but it is a creative aspect of any individual, any family, anybody who is in charge of the particular location or situation. It can be definitely devised and the planned to convert it into beautiful yielding vertical garden. So this is one more step towards increasing the food output, in addition to planting every possible sapling, we are trying to produce food. We are to utilize every inch of terrace, to every inch of ground surface areas, every possible vertical space also should be utilized to grow food. So now coming to the reality and the practicality of these areas wherever food can be grown, I would like to cover few areas like a terrace garden and possibly ground garden, and also probably some educational institutions. I would like to take these three areas to mention what are the possible steps one can adopt so that we can optimize the output, we can optimize the food availability and growth in a safe manner in these three respective areas. So coming to terrace garden design aspects, see, every terrace garden is unique in the sense there are so many variables applicable for any terrace garden or a family, and depending upon the situation, each terrace garden has to be tailor-made to suit the family's requirement, to suit the financial capabilities, to suit the taste, to suit the cultural background, to suit the weather conditions, and to suit the purse, and of course the size of the terrace. So this is there are too many variables. So if someone approaches me today for starting a terrace garden, first thing I will ask them to do is, what is your wish list? What do you want to grow? Oh, they are very happy answering this question. In fact, they start taking a very large piece of paper and they go on listing everything under the sun and under the sky. Because we should allow them to do that, because they will feel happy and they will feel as if they have grown all the items already on their terrace, and you can see the glow in their face. This also starts people in the family, whether it is the husband and wife and children, and wherever senior citizens are also part, everyone will start thinking, and their minds and their brains will get activated as to what all food can be grown in their terrace and what all things they are missing and how they would like to carry forward their future activities with respect to garden. Sometimes there will be agreements, sometimes there will be disagreements, but at the end, probably you get a big list of various possible things, and they will come out with plans to grow even coconut trees in a grow bag. So that is a reality sometimes we are seeing, and they will have absolutely no idea what will be the size of the container for growing a particular plant or a tree. They want to almost attempt impossible in practical and realistic situation. This is where the starting point of most of the terrace gardens who have no previous experience will be generally. And from there, the journey starts to come down to earth, to be more realistic. And practically, we will have to guide them as to what is it that is possible on a terrace garden, and within certain budgets which they can afford, within certain labor and the time which they can invest on from their side. Many times there will be no external staircase. Everything will be from the inside, and they will have only the husband and wife, both of them probably working. They cannot afford to leave a gardener inside the house and go to their workplace. So all these practical problems will come, and there are many families where they will be regularly going out on tours, and they will have to consider some external help for maintaining or taking care of the garden. So these are all various practical problems which we'll have to discuss with them. This is one aspect. Secondly, to what extent the building itself can take care of loads structurally. This is the first, another very important thing. So when the wish list takes some shape, this is another important parameter to be considered. What is the capability of the structural design aspects which the load can be heavy, the load can be safely handled. And if it is a column structure, column beam framework, probably the situation is better off. But if it is a very old building on load bearing walls, we do not know what was the specification of the design aspects and considerations which were given while designing the building, and what extent additional load can be given. So under such situations, it is advisable to probably go step by step and carefully expand rather than taking one single shot decision to load the entire terrace with very heavy containers and whatnot. So this is again a structural aspect, the dead load and the waterproofing aspect. And obviously we'll have to also consider the sunlight considerations, whether there are any tall structures or trees which will cast a shadow on the surface area of the terrace, so that we will be able to suitably utilize only those portions of the terrace where sunlight is incident at least for 6 hours in a day. Then only there will be meaningful and useful output to grow any of the valuable food crops, including vegetables and fruits. And we will have to also think of supporting structures for vine-based or creeper-based vegetables. So these are all some of the basic aspects which we'll have to consider, including even, as I was telling you, the vertical garden aspect that is also possible to be done by utilizing the space above the parapet walls around the terrace, where you can probably have alternatively a fruit tree and a vegetable vine growing space adjacent to each other all around the periphery. We can think of a vertical garden structure. So this is as far as few basic design aspects which one has to consider in the structural and other aspects to decide what should be the level of garden which one can plan and think on terrace. With this, once you are sure about the loading aspect, your wish list, and your number of products, these vegetables or fruits which can be grown, you will have to really think of the sizes of containers depending upon the spread of the variety and types of vegetables, whether you want to grow a large number of fruit trees, and whether you would like to grow a large number of vegetables which are vine or creeper based. To grow any of these fruit trees with large plant life or plant cycle, you will have to obviously think of containers which have enough capacity to allow and facilitate rooting, to also allow and facilitate absorption of a nutrition, to support their good part of the life cycle of the tree itself, at least from somewhere 7 to 10 years. This is as far as the fruit trees are concerned. And as far as vegetable vines are concerned, or the creepers are concerned, they have a capacity to grow to very big plants, and the plant life cycle, sometimes it could be 3 months, sometimes it could be 1 year, even 2 years, there are vines. And to support this sort of a growth of the plant with respect to rooting, as well as roots absorbing the nutrition, you definitely have to provide large containers. And for both these options, I would always and generally recommend some 8 CFT of medium container capacity, which we translate it to 2 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet in simple terms. Or the closest, if it's a vertical drum, it could be the normal blue drums what you get in the market. It could be generally preferable is HDP drums for 200 liters capacity. So where again you can't afford such single point dead load, concentrated dead loads to be given or applied in on terraces where they are not based on column beam framework structures. You will have to probably restrict such big containers and go for, or you have to make a compromise not to grow such heavy trees or go for heavy creepers, which will demand usage of such large containers. You should be happy with growing bush beans or small bitter gourd or these greens And that is where the selection ultimately of the vegetables or the fruits which you want to grow and which you can grow, it depends on all these parameters, and we'll have to arrive at a compromise situation. But if your building is strong enough, if your structural permission is available, which is again required to be confirmed through your civil engineers or the construction people who have done it, structural engineers or architects, you are subject to their clearance. Definitely, other than a coconut tree, practically, probably you can grow all types of fruit trees on a terrace, and all types of vegetables can be grown on terrace. We had even grown huge drumstick trees on our terrace, and we were having all types of fruit trees, including guava, sapota, pomegranate, all types of citrus trees, papayas, even there are people who have grown bananas. Even we had grown bananas on our terrace. So practically there is no limitation. And our friends at Mangalore, our Blani D'Souza is growing even jackfruit on terrace. So there is no limitation. One has to plan the capacity of the container accordingly, and subject to obviously the structure taking such a load. If such things are feasible, whatever is feasible, container-wise, load-wise, only they can be planned, obviously from security and safety considerations. So after these basic levels of the what can be grown, what cannot be grown is decided, and the containers and the types and varieties of vegetables and fruits are decided, you will have to think of optimizing the operations through certain basic simple techniques and water management as well as nutrition management, to where the labor aspects are kept to the minimum, and you also devise certain basic ways and means where rainwater utilization and recycling is done, and your water output, what comes from the containers, that is also effectively and efficiently collected and recycled, so that the cost benefit analysis is something meaningful and realistic. The water and the nutrition distribution, if it can be clubbed through a grid system which derives which derives the water from a single source or a tank on an overhead and gravity feed mechanism, you will be saving a lot of labor. Particularly, for example, in our Bangalore Terrace Garden, we had dedicated water tanks where we were putting even Jivamruta into the tank itself, so that when we were dispensing water to the plants through a overhead grid system, which you can see in the enclosed attached slide, the white pipes, they are all UPVC pipes, and we were able to feed even the liquid nutrient like a Chivamrita along with water through these pipes, and by controlling valves, they were reaching the entire population of the garden, entire plant population of the garden, and all the containers were getting it in a very systematic and professional way. The continuous feeding of this, whether it is a slightly stronger dose or as progressively a little lighter dose, the plants were getting nutrition along with water on a more distributed basis, rather than one trying to give nutrition once in 10 days or one shot, or once in 15 days. Practically, by giving Jivamruta into the mixing it with the tank where the water was also being given, we were able to feed the nutrition along with water practically on a daily basis. So that was being seen in the results, whatever we were getting. The plants were responding very, very happily and healthily, and the kind of the quantities and the quality of vegetables what we were growing, it was really amazing. We were very happy with that. So these are some of the water conservation and nutrition conservation and the labor conservation, labor optimization techniques which one can build into the design aspects of the terrace garden. These are certain initial investments which will go a long way if one can afford to do this. But again here, one has to have that confidence and the patience to make that investment initially upfront to derive the benefits spread over a long time. So this is as far as some of the small, simple tools which can be deployed in any terrace garden. subject to finances permitting the family. And in every terrace garden or any garden, composting is a very, very important aspect. One, to derive nutrition from biodegradable waste or bio waste which gets generated within the house from the kitchen as well as the garden, including the garden residue or the fallen leaves and whatnot. So with this utilization of such biodegradable waste by composting for the gardening purpose itself has a twofold benefit. One, you are not exporting that garbage, it becomes a garbage if you're exporting it out. Rather, it becomes a useful input raw material if you are doing the composting research within. So one, you are preventing that garbage exporting out and shifting the headache to the administration for collection and disposal, which as you have all seen is a major issue in every city, in every country. And that can be definitely minimized if every family takes up a step of doing the composting of all the bio waste which they are generating or which is falling from their garden leaves or trees around. If they can collect it and compost it, it becomes a valuable plant nutrition. You are also saving a lot of input costs. Otherwise, you will have to buy this nutrition from outside to feed your plants. So this is as far as the composting is concerned. You will have to provide certain space within the premises of the terrace where you can effectively manage and control the conversion of bio waste to plant nutrition. You also have to provide space and work area on the terrace garden to make sure that if you load your entire terrace with the plants inch to inch, then when for the first crop or first yield everything is fine. Second time when you are wanting to sow seeds, where do you put all that material or medium which is there in the container for mixing it with fresh compost or fresh medium and repacking it in the container and sowing the fresh seeds. So like this, there are so many operations which will become imminent in any garden, including a terrace garden. So you need to have some work area allocation on every terrace. And some small quantity of space is definitely required for stores operations, where you will have to store certain basic nutrition items like Jivamrita or Panchagavya or your any other nutrition item, the seeds and the tools required for the garden, because every time you cannot carry them from some other place, and you will have to, for the sake of convenience and ease of operation, stores space has to be allocated on terrace. So these are all certain a few basic design aspects of any terrace garden which one has to plan. And then coming to specifically our Bangalore activity, the Temple of Terrace, whatever we had named it, it was a wonderful period which we had. In fact, we started off there with a lot of ornamentals and flowers. So basically, the roses and hibiscus as major items. We had at one time the big luxury of having more than 250 varieties of roses and 100 varieties of hibiscus grown on the terrace. So it was unimaginably beautiful and high. And unfortunately, they were all chemical based. But this is where probably some sort of a realization and transformation came after attending some of the workshops which was being conducted by Dr. Vishwanath and Dr. Hedde. It was a eye-opener, and we thought, I think we should definitely switch over from these ornamentals which are chemical-based activities to something where it will be more meaningful and definitely beneficial for our own family, plus if we have access to the rest of the society to grow some safe and good vegetables. So that is the day when we took that decision and we started converting our ornamentals and the flowers into growing food. And there was no looking back. We made it totally organic. We stopped totally the chemical fertilizers usage, and obviously along with that the pesticides were also thrown out. So with this, it was a total 100% organic garden. And the principles of organic garden, it was not very difficult for us to switch over, because as far as the plants were concerned, they were looking at the basic nutrition in the form of NPK or the trace elements and the growth promoters, which were always available to be given in an organic form and fashion. And there was no issue of that transfer of situation from chemical farming to organic. And in certain places where you have excess of heat and let us say temperature, probably during summer months, we will have to think of protecting the plants with some shade nets. For Bangalore weather conditions, it was not required, and we have been managing, we did manage for many years without any shade net or anything. And then we did manage water circulation, water recycling, and water harvesting, and the entire water availability in the building was, not even a drop of water was going out of our premises. In fact, after a few years, we even started recycling grey water by using certain eco-friendly products, like many of our friends and many of our people are producing nowadays in our country. Uh, you know whom I'm referring to. But definitely they are very meaningful and useful contributions which have been made to the society to reduce the usage of chemicals and to make even the grain water user friendly, at least for gardening purposes. So we did employ water harvesting, rainwater harvesting, rainwater recycling. We did deploy container water harvesting and recycling, and also grey water harvesting and recycling, which was feeding eventually our ground garden, which was about 2,000 square feet at Bangalore, and Terrace Garden, which was about 2,500 square feet. And we had mainly aerobic composting practices followed in our Bangalore garden, and that was taking care of conversion of all biodegradable waste which was being produced in our kitchens, as well as the garden area. And we had our own work area and stores, and this was a very good experience and exposure, and it was also a source of probably inspiration. That is what people were telling us, that they would get motivated and inspired by visiting our garden, Temple on Terrace at Bangalore, where we were very happy to share whatever little knowledge which we had gained through our journey. And in the process, we were also deriving a lot of pleasure and happiness, because if we start our effort today, the 6th week or 7th week, somebody will come with one mulangi, one radish, or a few beans, and say, this is what we have grown through your guidance and expertise, whatever you shared with us. It was such a happy situation to receive such feedback and people. It was not that one single chili or a few beans or a few radish which mattered there. It was that satisfaction which the other side was deriving out of our small effort and small initiative. So that we have from time to time increased our involvement in whatever guidance we could offer and share with the rest of the society and the people. We have never said no to even a single visitor who wanted to visit our garden or who had any question to ask and clarify from time to time. We have been very happy doing this exercise, and we hope and wish to continue this exercise as long as we have the provision and permission from the Almighty. And now, probably now we are looking at some of the slides which are harvested slides from our Temple and Terrace Garden. You can see this sorted tables in what sort of a shape and colors you have and what sort of quality. You can see the kind of quality which our tomatoes are. They are glowing. These are double beans and like this, and the cauliflowers. We could grow everything. You see, this is a pole beans harvest, and it was a sight to watch. These radishes, they were almost close to 1 foot each, and they were still very juicy and tender. These are coffee flowers, and we did harvest quite a bit of coffee on our terrace. People could not believe that we could grow coffee in Bangalore and on our terrace. And we grew enough turmeric for our family, and we were able to share it with people outside our family as well, and the quality of is excellent. So now coming to the ground gardens and some of the design aspects, I'd like to briefly touch upon certain principles which are generally called as permaculture principles. Here we have the permaculture is a very broad name and definition. You cannot say that 1, 2, 3, 4, these are the permaculture principles or specifications. Generally, under permaculture, you conserve all resources, whatever is feasible in a natural form, and feed it back to your garden and optimize the output and the growth and get the maximum output from your garden. This is, in a nutshell, the definition of a permaculture practice. But the following, probably a little more classification or headers you can think of could be rainwater harvesting and to have water adequacy and self-reliance. So this the larger the area, the larger could be the population of plants and trees which can be grown in such an area. And we have the rain gods which will be powerful during certain seasons, and certain seasons will be dry. That is the norm of the weather and the seasons. So when we have enough rainwater or more rainwater available, we should harvest it and store it and use it for, if possible, for the rest of the year. That is the best situation which one can have without drawing resources from the groundwater, without importing water from anywhere else, spending the money on transportation and other costs. This is as far as the water adequacy is concerned. And we have the solar power available. Fortunately, in our country, there is no dearth for it. Barring monsoon little durations and period, we have abundant solar power. And this solar power can be effectively utilized to generate power for maintaining and running all power needs of the garden, ground garden, or if you have a small house, we call it a farmhouse or a caretaker accommodation or a caretaker house or your retreat house. It can meet the needs and the demand of the power with therein, and you can run the entire farm on certain solar power which you are able to generate on photovoltaic systems which you can install. These are again initial investments. Once installed, they will serve for many years, and the cost can be probably recovered in a few years. The capital costs, once recovered, the rest of the production, whatever you do, is a profit and bonus. And then you have an area of cattle and other type of poultry and fish, which is manageable in the garden, which will first of all get its fodder, which will again produce milk, which the poultry, again it produces eggs, or for people who take non-vegetarian food, that is also a source of food. And thirdly, it is also possibly a source of income if people want to market it elsewhere outside their poultry garden farm. And fish, this is again very valuable as far as the nutrition is concerned. It gives fish amino acids, which is very rich in plant nutrition. So by having cattle, poultry, and fish within your farm, it serves multiple purposes. One, to generate the required nutrition inputs for your entire garden or farm, as the case may be. And the second, to generate cash flow and revenue by the products which can be sold outside. Third, they will also serve as source of food as required. And the next important permaculture principle, which can be probably deployed in any ground garden or farm, could be a biogas plant, because you will be generating enough for raw material in the form of cow dung, which is very high in, very rich in calorific value, where you will be producing enough plant residues and plant waste, which when mixed with cattle output like your cow dung, can produce enough of biogas, which can be either converted to electricity or used as a fuel in the kitchen or any other heating purpose or biogas plants. So, and you have again here, just like a terrace garden, it is even more important here because the quantum of plant residues and the quantum of biodegradable waste which you will be generating in a ground garden or a farm will be of a much larger and higher scale. And here the cost of feeding your valuable nutrition inputs required for various plants will be even higher if you don't generate your own nutrition. And that is where your aerobic composting to start with, when you can probably graduate to making your own vermicompost. And if need be, you can even go for anaerobic composting principles, including a bokashi and whatnot. So this will be a wonderful combination. This will be a wonderful combination where you can have a lot of nutrition generated within your own premises. Excuse me. You have a wonderful scope for to generate the overall nutrition requirements of the entire garden and farm. So this is a very, very important aspect of every ground garden or a farm. And coming to biodiversity, that is another major principle of permaculture, where you produce the entire spectrum of your requirements, whether it is a food grain, whether it is a vegetable, whether it is a fruit, with the support functions of cattle, poultry, and fish, in generating your own power, your own water conservation, to have an overall control on whatever you need to lead a normal, simple life within premises without going in for purchases from outside. One, from the cost consideration; second, from the practicality and optimized operational conditions with respect to both the quality and the quantity. So this is something which it will be definitely be feasible to plan for maximum biodiversity of all types of plant life and tree life, to produce vegetables of various types, to produce fruits of different types, to produce grains of different types, which would probably include even paddy, it could be millets, it could be wheat, it could be oil seeds. So any of these can be produced with the proper planning and depending upon the seasons and the seasonal variations which one has to normally come through. And another major important permaculture principle is to go in for multi-level and multi-crop aspects. Multi-levels, you have the tall trees, you have the medium level canopy trees, you have small shrubs and trees, which whether it is citrus type of tree or a pomegranate sapota type and mango type of trees, or whether it is the avocado, coconut, and jackfruit, things like that. You have multi-level trees producing food, we're producing fruits of different types and varieties, and of different nutrition level and food value and different tastes. So this is as far as fruits are concerned, and generally they are planted in the surrounding periphery of the place, keeping the central core space of the entire garden for growing vegetables. By planning it in such a way that you have the trees on the western side and eastern side to prevent the heat of the afternoon sun, harsh sun falling on the vegetables, and also to have the benefit of the wind directions during certain seasons, monsoon season and post-monsoon season, where it will be very windy, to protect the plants from these. They act as windbreakers or wind shields. So you can plant the big trees at the periphery and the western and the southern side, and the sunlight also has to be incident on the central parts, and the vegetable beds are generally planted with the north-south or south-north directions to get the maximum exposure of sunlight. Even during the mornings and afternoons, you do get filtered sunlight, and the trees around will protect and ensure that filtered sunlight will be available to the, in an optimum way. And then you have the ground preparation aspects should take care of certain basic principles to avoid the surface soil getting washed off, or to allow certain percolation of water during rains, and to ensure that the soil remains in the best of the condition for a good part of the year during all seasons. The trenching, particularly if it is done wherever you are planting trees, it will facilitate fast growth of the from the sapling to the tree stage to the productive stage, because the roots will have opportunity to expand and grow and penetrate in all directions, and they will have better capacity and capability to absorb the plant nutrition, and that will definitely result in fast growth and a fast settling down of the tree, and it will reach its utility and fruiting conditions much earlier. In fact, we did this in our ground garden at Mysore. We call it as a ground temple, as an extension of Temple of Terrace of Bangalore. We decided to name it as a ground temple, and we followed these simple trenching and pit making practices for planting the various fruit trees and the various flowering trees within a limited space of 14,000 square feet. It's an urban garden what we made here in Mysore in a residential layout, and here to take care of the basic principles of permaculture and the soil erosion, we dug up trenches, we dug up pits, and we planted all the trees in the periphery of the fenced area, and we planted our vegetable beds in the center portion of the entire area. And believe me, normally a drumstick tree will take at least 9 months to 10 months to get the first yield. We got our first drumsticks in the 4th month after we planted the trees. The passion fruit started giving fruits within 5 months. It was an unbelievable situation, but we did see the results because of the ground preparation what we did, because of the nutrition what we fed. We definitely filled up the trenches or the pits which we dug up, and the vegetable beds whatever we made with good nutrition, with a combination of coco peat, with a combination of farmyard manure, vermicompost, biofertilizers, oil seeds, and even the sugarcane bagasses, and a lot of dry leaves. All these went into the ground preparation, and I think we are definitely feeling very happy having done that, because the results have started coming in a very short time, and we see healthy trees, healthy plants giving a very good output. This was the same principle which we were using even at Bangalore for our terrace garden, and whatever results we had seen there in our Bangalore terrace garden, it is further confirmed in a little larger scale and a larger manner at our ground temple effort at Mysore. And besides this ground preparation and the occasional top feed, which you are regular top feed which you give in the form of either solid or liquid nutrition inputs, mulching plays a very, very important role and in building a nutrition and improving the quality of the soil or the medium. And every day after day, year after year, the quality, ground quality will go on improving if you are continuously mulching your land or ground. With the help of mulching, we have been able to reduce our input costs for buying out the nutrition from outside, and with the help of liquid nutrients like Jivamrita and Panchagavya, and also with the help of biofertilizers and the banana peel tea, whatever we do within our own premises, we are able to manage the nutrition as well as pest management requirements from within the premises very comfortably and very efficiently. The mulching, first of all, it reduces the water demand because it retains moisture. Second, it will prevent weed development because first of all, the sunlight incidence on the ground where possibly the weed seeds are there, it will prevent them germinating. And the third, the mulch, whatever you have used, eventually breaks down and becomes a plant nutrition, plant compost. So if you are able to use the mulching along with the waste decomposer, which is nothing but a rich feed of microorganisms, which is prepared by Government of India to help people prevent the burning of plant residue and also to reduce the time of composting any biodegradable waste. Definitely, the mulching can be repeated every 7 to 8 weeks. Once in 7 or 8 weeks, if you go on doing it, your land will be full of plant nutrition. It will be rich with nutrition. Your labor and the time spent for weeding will be less, and your nutrition purchases from outside will be far, far lesser or almost nil. So the mulching is, the more mulching you can do, it will be helpful for your garden, and it will be productive, very big, in a very big way, and in the long run it will be very helpful. In addition to these practices, another important design aspect or the maintenance aspect would be to use cover crops in between two major crops for any vegetable, or even when we are growing trees, regular growing of cover crops, which fix the nitrogen, which fix the different types of cover crops. They have different types of nutrition which will get injected into the ground, and they will also reduce your water demand. Yeah, they will improve the humus of the soil, and the nutrition aspect is also automatically taken care of, including certain basic NPK nutrients as well as certain micronutrients. So the cover crops also play a very predominant role in keeping the garden very healthy, and in lowering the costs deployed for maintaining a garden. The next important thing will be the live soil. The living soil makes all the difference, and that is where your cover crops, your mulching probably will ensure that the soil will continue to live forever, and it will not show any downward trend. It will be continuously living and producing more and more. Excuse me. Yeah. Now my friend is reminding me that I've already spent 1 hour. So, okay, I think we are on the route, and no problem. Living the soil is very important for the health and the upkeep of the garden, and it is very, very important. And the earthworms can thrive very well in living soil. And probably this is one of the major reasons why in organic gardening principles, they do not suggest and recommend usage of heavy machinery like tractors or JCBs. The topsoil, whatever is there, it will get lost, or it will get into the lower strata of the soil if you use these JCBs and tractors. And also the living microorganisms or microbes and the earthworms, they will lose their uh, ability to live and expand, and they multiply if these heavy machineries are applied. And this is the reason why it is always preferable to go for very light tilling, if at all tilling is required, and definitely not use JCBs. Although this is a contradiction, we were required to use tractor as well as JCB when we made our ground garden at Mysore, that is the ground temple garden at Mysore, because the whole place was unutilized, and the whole the place was full of stones and boulders. There was no way. We made several test pits all along the area, and we realized that it was not fit enough to grow anything unless and until we clean at least 1 foot of the entire area, and the 1 foot depth, because it contained a lot of stones. We did that, and later on, of course, there is no scope for any tilling. There is no scope for any other heavy machinery. Everything is hand managed and hand controlled. And thereafter, we have now abundant earthworm activity in our soil. We are continuously resorting to mulching. We are continuously using cow dung based manure and products like Jivamruta and Panchagavya. We are also using a lot of mulching. And this is now the live living activity is back in our garden, and that microclimate is very much established. In addition to this, we also made a sort of productive fence around our garden area. We, instead of making cement, concrete, or brick compound, we fenced the area and we grew certain types of vines and creepers, which were also productive. Look wise, it was fantastic. It was looking great, and we were able to get production of double beans, production of broad beans, production of ivy gourd, so like so many other things which we were able to grow from season to season on these living and productive fences. The plant biodiversity to locally generate certain nutrition requirements. Yes, this is a one very important aspect which I would strongly recommend and suggest to most of the new gardens and farms when they are making. This design will save a lot of costs over a period of time, particularly growing drumstick trees. In itself, first of all, it will generate cash flow and revenue on a short-term basis to long-term period. And the drumstick leaves are very rich in plant nutrition, both the major elements, NPK, and even the microelements and the minerals. So the liquid manure which one can produce out of drumstick leaves is a very valuable input for any farm, any garden. So the costs involved in growing, the procedures and the efforts involved in maintaining these drumstick trees are very minimal, and it has a fantastic cost benefit analysis ratio. And likewise, you have this agasse, or this flax, some people call it, this Sesbania plant. It comes in different colors. They have, in fact, the red agasse, the red flowers, the one which you're seeing in the photograph attached. And you have the white agasse, you have the pink one, and the yellow agasse. Out of the four varieties which I'm aware of, we have at least three varieties. We don't have the yellow one, but we have the rest of the three. The leaves of these plants are also very good nutrition-wise, and even it's a very good fodder and input material for cattle. Likewise, even the drumstick leaves it's a very good fodder feed, and it's good for cattle and things. If you are maintaining cows or if you are maintaining a goat and sheep, it's an excellent input raw material. So it will help giving the fodder and food requirements of your animals which you are able to rear, which in turn again produces a lot of nutrition inputs. So one takes care of the other. That is the basic philosophy of permaculture principle. The entire situation, whatever you are developing, one leads to the other, and one is a friendly neighbor for the other. Whether it is a cow and the plant supports the cows, and the cows support the plants. So that way, and both produce nutrition which is required for the plants. So that way, each and every item, whatever you are doing, should be self-supporting and aiding. And we have the objective of sustenance of the farm through short-term, medium-term, and long-term plants and trees to meet the cash flow requirements. So we do require cash for running any activity, and so like vegetables to take care of certain short-term cash requirements, and we have certain types of trees which produce fruits early to take care of medium cash flow requirements, and certain other which will produce little later. It will take time. It could be avocado, it could be jackfruit, it could be mango, it could be coconut. These will take a little longer time, but once they start yielding, they are there to give you cash and revenue for almost several decades. So that is, we will have to plan a mix of all these plants and the trees, so that at any point of time, you are generating a cash flow, and that will keep your garden healthy and your pockets healthy and your purse comfortable. And the drip irrigation is a very important design aspect in any of these ground garden or farm, as the case may be. It saves a lot of labor. It reduces the demand on water feeding for any of these gardens or farms, and it will be very effective, very efficient. Your most preferable, if possible, would be to have gravity-fed drip irrigation system. But where you larger areas are involved, you will have to use intermediate pumps to drive the water through the long drip lines, and eventually it should be very efficient and it will be very productive. And coming to the automation and the monitoring aspect, every terrace garden or every ground garden and farm can deploy automation and also monitoring, depending upon the necessity and depending upon the purse which you can afford to spend on. It could be done in stages. It could be done one shot, depending upon the severity, depending upon your convenience, and most importantly, the need. Today, now systems are available where you can open a valve or start a borewell pump or shut off a pump. You can feed water sitting in a different country, and you can operate. You can give instructions through mobiles. You can operate programmable logic controllers. You can decide what time you should give nutrition, what time you should give water. So all these things are feasible and possible, but you will have to really decide it depending upon the seriousness and the necessity, and also the finances involved in doing that. I've already touched on some of the aspects when we are talking about ground garden designing with respect to our specific ground temple garden at Mysore. It's a small urban garden of 14,000 square feet with maximum possible biodiversity, where we are growing vegetables, different types of fruits, spices, herbs, and some timber. And we have certain crops specifically designed for helping pollination issues. And we have sunken beds to take care of vegetable growth. And we have on the periphery, we have planted all fruit-bearing trees, and except mango, jackfruit, and avocados, most of the other fruits, including citrus trees, they have already started giving fruits in the second year of our operation itself. We have unfortunately not been able to do much of a rainwater harvesting for want of space, but we have dug up trenches, we have dug up pits which are operating like check dams to allow percolation of water and recharge the water. And it also prevents any soil erosion and soil runoff when there are heavy rains. We have deployed a drip that is taking care of labor saving to a large extent and better efficiency of water feeding. And we are also now going to add through a Venturi system, probably to even add filtered Jivamrita or filtered Panchagavya to be delivered to the plants through the drip system itself. That will save further the labor costs involved in giving nutrition periodically as top feed. And we have made our own small nursery where we produce various fruit saplings, including jackfruit, jamun, avocado, drumstick, agasse, Manila tamarind, papaya, etc. This is one for meeting our own local needs, which have almost met. And second, we give all these saplings to our friends and people who are starting their farms. This is purely on a non-commercial basis. It is more on a friendly basis. We are not trying to make any money in this game, but it is more towards our small and little contribution for improving the green cover around us. And we have our own seed bank, and we try to distribute as many seeds as possible to our neighbors and other farms with whom we are in touch with. And we have plant nutrition requirements met through Jivamrita and Panchagavya, which we make ourselves within our premises. We make our own banana peel tea and then compost tea, fruit enzymes, moringa liquid fertilizer. Of course, we buy rock phosphate, and then we buy oil cakes and pulverize them, and we produce our own sour buttermilk and ash, and we produce our own fermented leaf extract. With this, we are comfortably managing the nutrition requirements of plants, both the vegetables as well as the fruit trees, in a comfortable manner. And most of these tools, which are nutrition tools, they are also acting as pest management tools, particularly the Jivamrita, the Panchakavya, and even your fermented leaf extract, sour buttermilk. They are also doubling up as pest management tools. And we have, in addition to these nutrition come pest management tools, what I explained now, we have separate pest management tools, including a neem oil, Agnyastra, Brahmastra, Dashaparni Kashayam, which we make within our premises from various types of leaves which are available in and around our garden. And we do use fermented leaf extract and Jivamrita and Panchagavya. And another very important thing which has been helpful in keeping the plants free from disease and pests is use of trichoderma and pseudomonas in particularly controlling the soil-borne diseases and to improve the pest management repellent characteristics. We use garlic, green chili, ginger solutions occasionally, and we also grow a lot of yellow flowering plants like marigold and chrysanthemum as pest traps. We are doing our own aerobic composting using the supplying kitchen waste from our kitchen, and we use a lot of garden waste and residue, and then large quantities of used flowers which we collect from nearby temples, even here in Mysore. And then we are resorting to heavy mulching. We are already deploying drip irrigation, and we are attracting birds specifically by growing chia crops and certain other like butterfly feeds. Chia crop, to tell you a little more, it's a crop which can be grown even on the road. It is not eaten by any cattle or any other goat or sheep, and it can be comfortably grown even on a footpath. That is what the picture what you are seeing is a chia crop on the road, and it is a 3 months life cycle, and it's a revenue crop and a cash crop, and it can be comfortably, you can grow 3 times in a year. Barring the summer period, it is a very good hardy plant and requires very little water, very liquid, very little nutrition, and it gives a very good revenue. So these are some of the things which can be done at within our garden, and probably I'll run through the harvest things from our ground garden very fast, so that I can spend little time on one of the educational institution projects which we did recently at Mysore. And I'll just run through the slides which will show you some idea of our harvest from the ground temple at Mysore. This is butterfly weed, sunflower. Yeah, here we are now. It's an institution. It's an academic institution. They approached us through one of the architects, and we were very happy to tell them that it is a very good cause, and we would like to get involved in a totally non-commercial way without expecting anything. That is the theme and basic principle which I've been trying to follow for anybody who tries to consult us for any guidance or help. Not that we are great experts or consultants, but whatever little we know, which we have picked up in our journey and the travel on the road all these years, we are trying to share it with the society and people who are in need of it. It is just a coincidence that we are comparatively and relatively little more privileged to compare to many others who are probably starting their journey today. So that is there we are to give our small help and helping hand. And hand holding initially at this stage when there somebody starting, it takes a very long way to go for them, and that when they see that they are doing well, when they reach their own self-sufficiency levels, it's a pleasure for them and a pleasure for us too. See here, the academic institution which I was talking, we made test pits in their land only to realize that not even 6 inches of soil was available. It was all rocky terrain, and it was we were a little disappointed when we wanted to start a garden. Then a little bit of a thought, we decided yes, there are possibly options. One is to have raised bed systems on the ground, or The other option was to go for excavation. So calculations were made with respect to both these options. And believe me, the option of excavating the rock through certain heavy machinery and all that was much more cheaper compared to the raised bed systems which were required to be built on the surface. So although 1 foot of depth would be more than sufficient for growing most of the vegetables, it was decided to go for 18 inches deep beds. So basically to take care of any excessive rainfall or any watering which happens during the rainy season, the water should not stand or become stagnant at the root level, allowing root decay and root rot. So we decided to go for a depth of about 1.5 feet, that is 18 inches, and the 4 feet wide, 20 feet long, deep excavations were done with a JCB and all the beds. It is just, and we decided to fill up these beds with all possible biodegradable waste, including sugarcane residue, and then dry leaves, fresh leaves, and then farmyard manure, fresh manure. So, and we were turning them once in a while to make sure that, and we also fed all these beds with the waste decomposer fluid so that we could expedite their breaking down process, and we could bring the entire bed into a good stage and status where the seeds could be sown. The entire activity of preparing, starting from the starting of operation to the sowing of the seed, it took just 60 days. The first seeds were sown within 60 days after commencing the project. And the 3 weeks hence, the first harvest was made. And there is no looking back after that. They are growing huge quantities of vegetables of all types, both the vine types as well as the bush types. For vine types, they have created excellent structures using natural raw materials available within the premises. And this is serving as a training ground because they have institutions running for children, that is the primary school, middle school, high school, and even up to graduation level. They have their regular batches of students who are coming and learning things in this garden. In fact, they utilized the lockdown period the most effectively, as they had plenty of labor and their own staff available to pitch in their hard work and efforts during this period. It was the lockdown, if you want, you can call it as a lockdown garden. But it's been wonderful to see the results of today. And they have all types of vegetables beyond the utilization needs of their own staff and their own people. There is so much of excess vegetable that they are now trying to organize sales every third day or every week in a close by apartment complex, where they bring all the vegetables with the prior appointment and fixed timings. And the people in the apartment are looking forward to the van arriving on specific dates and specific times. Well, this is, I think, we had regular visitors to our Bangalore garden, and the story continues here in Mysore as well. We had the opportunity of two visiting teams, one from Italy university. It was an environmental engineering university, and another from Wisconsin University, USA. The picture what you are seeing is from Wisconsin University. They are from agricultural engineering background, and they visited us. They spent quite a bit of time exchanging certain ideas and views. And both the teams, the Italian team as well as the American university team, they left so happily, and they wanted permission from our side to repeat the visits every year for the new batch of students when they arrive. And it's a wonderful thought and wonderful opportunity for us, and as for them as well, to travel so far and so long to even see our facility. We consider it as our privilege, and we are proud of it. And on the other slide, we have the honorable visitors, Dr. Vishwanath, Dr. Hegde, Dr. Balmati and his team. And we had Dr. Vishwanath visiting us many occasions, individually and as well as a part of teams. Besides this, we have regular visitors visiting us from other towns. They come in individuals or groups and the teams, and we have been very happy to share our little knowledge, whatever we have gained through our journey. And barring this COVID period, we have never said no to anybody who wanted to visit our garden. And we are very happy to continue to do it once things normalize. And until then, it's a temporary halt. So the guidance, as and when required, as and when we are in a position to, we have been too happy. Now, this is a picture from one of the sessions at the Bugle Rock, where I think I was sharing some views to one of our OTG teams at Basangudi, where we used to regularly meet at every month. So also we are doing at JP Nagar, some in Bangalore East I have gone, and Bangalore Cantonment we have gone. So wherever possible, we have made visits to people where they were assembling as a part of 4TG activities and monthly meetings. Otherwise, whenever teams come, whenever individuals come to our garden, it was a happy and wonderful situation to meet them and exchange views. Well, that is where I am. Myself, my mobile number, my email address, along with my cowboy hat. This is just a top view of the garden which we took from a building which was under construction just behind our garden at Mysore. This is probably a picture video which we made in June. That is less than 15 months from the date of starting the garden. We had wonderful harvest of papayas. We had a great harvest of bananas, which we are continuing to harvest. We are now starting to raise a new crop of papayas and all other fruit crops are coming up now. We have been having a lot of passion fruit. We have been having pomegranates, sapotas, guavas already yielding, and we are just about to probably start water apple. And the story goes on. I think we are happy we are on the right track. So I would like to thank all of you for the wonderful opportunity given to us, to me. And I hope I have not bored all of you through this long session. And I don't know how many people slept during the process. One.
Sir, it was a treasure, truly.
Thank you so much, sir. So it was wonderful. I think I was just seeing on the YouTube also there are no questions because they are all convinced.
Yeah.
It is also possible that they have slept through the entire session.
It is not true, sir. It is not true because an uninterrupted and you are continuously talking. So that way, I think all those points that you wanted to make it, you have strongly made it probably on the face of all of us. So that way, I think it is a very good session. Sir, one or two points before we will move to the people here on the meeting here on YouTube. There are one or two questions. One is that you mentioned somewhere about the moringa liquid fertilizer.
Yeah.
So if you have any ideas, sir, you can just explain so that they can just.
The moringa leaves, the drumstick leaves, fresh leaves, we collect it. We just separate out the leaves we just remove the individual leaves by scraping them through and put it in a mixie or a grinder and make a paste out of it. Mix this with water and good dilution, you can make a rasam dilution, what we make rasam. In that consistency, we can spray it on any foliage as a foliage, or we can give it to even drench the plants. ground, drench the ground. So this is a very big and very good nutrition. It gives both the micronutrients and macronutrients, and it's a very big pest repellent as well.
Yes.
So this is a very effective nutrition pest management tool, and it can be grown in all seasons in abundance with very little efforts. On one side, you have the drumstick itself operating as a revenue generation cash flow tool. On the other side, you are taking care of nutrition and pest management requirements of the garden. So we have in our ground temple here at Mysore more than 30 moringa trees.
Yes. So anyway, moringa, as you said, it is a very good nutrition or nutrient for the human beings as well as for the plants.
Yes.
I think this is the only question, Dr. Rajesh, on YouTube. I think the people are so much convinced. There's only appreciation there. So now let me just open this to the participants here. Krishna Kumar is there. Ramki sir asked one or two questions. Probably he can put that question directly now.
Now I am really scared.
Sir, one day, first point about to appreciate is that you are collecting temple flowers and composting them.
Yeah.
That's something which everybody has to learn from that.
Yeah.
And next one is a question. Did you do any soil tests, sir, for your land?
Honestly, no. I did discuss with a couple of people who are doing a similar activity, agricultural activity or gardening activity in and around our place. Okay. Generally, the feedback was they were excellent fields a few decades back. They were growing rain-fed crops like ragi and other millets. At those times, they were doing very well. But the place has been almost left untouched because it was acquired. Probably, it is a residential layout where we have this garden. So okay. The lands were acquired by the society about 15, 20 years back. And questions, yeah. Oh, it seems there are questions on the YouTube.
Yeah, you can answer that, sir, next.
Yeah. So I believe after the society took over or purchased the lands, there was no way that any agricultural activity could be carried on. Okay. And it remained the way what it was in almost a barren land, the sort of a thing it was left. So which was having, of course, it helped improve the quality of the topsoil because whatever the weeds which were getting developed, it went back to the ground. Season after season, the topsoil quality was getting increased. Right. So, and the type of vegetation what we saw in and around our garden, we saw very healthy plants and very good looking output of small vegetables that people were growing. So as a result, we really did not go for any soil testing.
Yeah, very good, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And in any case, whatever little knowledge we had on ground preparation and soil preparation, we were prepared to take that sort of help and prepare the soil to meet the, see, in any case, we are not a commercial organization to worry so much about 100% efficiency of any particular.
That's true. That's true.
So we were quite happy with whatever little we were doing at Bangalore on our terrace as well as ground. So similar ground preparation techniques we deployed here as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So same thing, sir was also asking that whether what one or two problems that if you want to differentiate from the terrace garden to the ground ground garden. So what was very difficult in terrace garden, what is very difficult in ground garden? So terrace garden, I know, sir, one thing that is going to the terrace of your third floor terrace.
No, to tell you honestly, the conditions which one can maintain or control in a terrace garden is far superior and easier.
Yes. You have no control on land. That's true. Correct. That's true, sir.
So it's a laboratory condition which you are able to almost maintain.
Yes,
in a
yes,
garden.
that's true.
So
excellent talk, sir.
You can practically engineer your practices. You can keep it under your total control. and
Right.
everything can be at its peak of performance for the best part of the year.
Yes, that's true.
Whereas here, the vagaries are different.
Correct.
You have different kind of leaching happening. Your kind of water feeding will be different. So many other new type of complications, and particularly weed management is much more here. The problems of weeding is very high. So
Rodents problem.
the efficiency level, we were definitely far much better and superior in a terrace garden.
Okay, that is true.
I don't
Thank
know,
you,
it has
sir.
been my experience, whether others who have been experiencing both terrace and ground, whether they agree with me or not, I don't know.
Yes.
By and large, correct, sir. By and large, true, sir. On land garden, rodent is a mess. It
Yeah.
creates a menace many times, which we are able to easily isolate in a terrace garden.
Correct.
But whereas in a terrace garden, you have radiated heat from the floor and the walls, which could create an adverse condition for the plants when it is not densely growing.
Yeah.
When compared to the ground. So these are some specific distinctions that I have experienced.
In our Bangalore terrace garden, we had not left even 1 single inch. It was
Exactly.
packed.
That is a paradise. That is a paradise. I'm not talking about paradise. I'm talking about a common man's garden. That is the benchmark, sir. That's truly a benchmark to
Sir,
strive
And
for.
the kind of water mixed Jivamrita and Panchakavya which we are feeding through the grid system, that was really very helpful in giving continuous and controlled nutrition throughout. And that was really great. We could practically see the glow on each and every leaf, in addition to the glow on the vegetables or fruits what we are growing.
Yeah.
I can't forget the quality of sweet lime fruits which we enjoyed. I can't forget the kind of citron fruit size and the amount and quantity of juice which it had on our terrace garden. It is unbelievable. It was unbelievable. The quality was extremely good.
Correct. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I think, yeah, we are running out of time. Krishna Kumar, you have any more questions here?
No, there are a couple of questions in YouTube, probably that is more worthwhile to.
Yeah. I think one question is, sir, if you can throw some light on cover crops. You were specifically mentioning, so you can mention.
Yeah, cover crops, it is very valuable and cost effective. If you can see, one is water conservation and the water evaporation will be reduced, and your weed suppression also it helps. We are not really trying to harvest out of the yield which a cover crop, we don't even allow it to reach the yielding stage. For example, it could be cowpeas, it could be sorghum, it could be your horse gram, it could be your field. So between 30 45 days or maximum 50 days, depending upon what cover crop you are growing, it is tilled back into the soil. That is improving the humus of the soil, it is improving the nutrition of the soil, it is improving the overall quality totally. And that is definitely a far more cost-saving tool compared to you are bringing any external nutrition and trying to feed the soil.
Yes, sir. Another question probably related is that you are doing permaculture or following permaculture principle on 14,000 square feet. So whether it is sustainable with 1 acre.
See, with every increase in square foot beyond 14,000, this 14,000 square feet, what I mentioned, it is probably just a model garden, a demo garden, and it can be scaled to any size, whether it is half an acre or 1 acre or 50 acres or 100 acres. The same concepts can be scaled to any extent and size depending upon the situation. See, here we have gone for high density planting. We have not really looked at we have not followed the rule book as far as the planting of the inter-tree spacing is concerned. In place where I have to get 100 kg fruit output per season, I'll be happy even if I get 50 kgs. It's okay. But I am interested in more varieties of fruits and more species of fruits than the efficiency. I am sacrificing the plant efficiency and yield efficiency for the varieties and the biodiversity. I am trying to increase the biodiversity. So this is something like the Miyawaki forests, which are created where every plant supports each other plant, and it grows as a conglomeration of plants and a forest. So they support each other. They are not competing with each other. At the same time, we must give their due share of sunlight. And even at 50% operational levels, efficiency levels, I'm happy. That is the principle. But if you have larger areas, obviously you can also follow the rule book with respect to tree spacing, and you can go on improving the efficiency of each and every plant.
Any suggestions on rodent control, sir, based on your experience in ground temple?
Every morning you get up, you please pray to Lord Vinayaka to keep his chariot under control, and to keep his vehicle under control, the mice and the rodents. So he's a master for both rats and the bandicoots and the snake. So both of these things are addressed by offering good prayers to Lord Vinayaka.
That is what we are also doing, sir. We are praying on a daily basis for Lord Vinayaka for elephant control. Anyway, Dr. Rajesh, over to you.
Fortunately,
Yes,
we don't have the elephant problem, so we try to pray only for the snakes as well as the rats.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir.
I know the elephant program Dr. Hegde has in his BBT.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so that was a wonderful session, sir. I mean, we really didn't know that more than 90 minutes just flew past, and we learned
90 minutes.
more than 90 minutes, 1.5 hours.
I'm so sorry.
No, it was really nice. We didn't know the time at all. We learned a lot. Your experience speaks for itself.
Unfortunately, my background is that of marketing. So I'm a marketing and means a talking guy. So once you start talking, I can't stop.
Very few occasions where we long for more, sir.
True. I'm sure the YouTube viewers also really enjoyed this and learned a lot. Basically, focusing on permaculture. I think this is probably one of the first talks in this series where a lot of focus was there on permaculture. It was really enjoyable. Thank you so much, sir. We learned a lot, and I'm sure that the viewers in YouTube also would have enjoyed and would have enriched a lot. We have a few more Sundays to go, and as I told in the last Sunday also, we propose to have the last 25th Sunday, which falls sometime on the I think the 3rd or 4th Sunday of February, is the last 25th Sunday. We plan to have it as a real event, an event, a face-to-face event. In the good old long pre-COVID days, we used to have something called a personal Ruta from your Tota, where we all used to meet and we used to interact. We are planning to have a personal event on the 25th, which will fall on the last 3rd or 4th week of February. We'll keep you informed about that. Thank you so much, YouTube viewers, for joining us every Sunday. We'll keep you posted of all the updates. In case you have not already done so, kindly subscribe to our channel so that you keep getting updates on this. And the excellent Zoom team, under the guidance of Dr. Hegde, we have been ensuring that this goes uninterrupted. We just have a few more Sundays to go, and we are all eagerly looking forward for the 25th grand personal event, which will be held in the 3rd or 4th week of February. Thank you all so much, and have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank all of you and Mr. Kaushal, who helped me to prepare the PowerPoint program and be by my side all through. It is a big source of support and inspiration. Thanks to all of you. Thank you.
And it was a nice PPT.
Excellent.
Nice. Dr. Rajesh, you can close the YouTube.
I'll close the YouTube.
Thanks, sir. Bye.
Please, Dr. Mysore sir, bitte bitru.
Stop.